Your brush with the divine has drained you of your powers, fractured your memories. Look upon these cards. They represent the courses of your life.
Hello and welcome to my lore-through of Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. This is the first session. A lore-through is a playthrough of the entire game with an emphasis on learning about the lore, history, and world. In this case, I'll be focusing on dialogue, in-game texts, and journal entries. And I'll occasionally be reading from the guidebook, which gives information on the background of Eora, including the factions of Deadfire and stories and myths. I do have a completed lore-through of the first game and its DLC White March posted on YouTube. If you haven't played the first game, I would recommend watching it. But I also understand it's a pretty huge time commitment. If something in this game requires knowledge of events from the first game, I'll do my best to summarize them and try to make it understandable, even if you haven't watched and or played the first game. Unlike the first game, Pillars of Eternity 2 is fully voice acted, including some of the narration, so I'll be doing less reading this time around. Also unlike the first lore-through, I'm going to be recording longer episodes and releasing once a week on Saturdays. I'll also try to post them a week after my play session, so I invite any comments, questions, or clarifications, especially since this time I'll be able to address them in the videos themselves. Last time I finished the majority of the playthrough before I edited and posted the videos. This time, I'll be posting as I play. And about those clarifications, I'll probably get some things wrong. My aim is to understand as much about the world of Eora as I can in anticipation of the release of Avowed, and hopefully eventually, Pillars of Eternity 3. And sometimes that could mean I misinterpret something or forget previous events. Feel free to call me out if that's the case. If you're unaware, Avowed is Obsidian's as-yet unreleased first-person RPG set in the same world as the Pillars of Eternity games, called Eora. Avowed is supposedly going to take place shortly after the events of this game, but we'll be playing in a new part of the world called the Living Lands, where the first game took place in the Deerwood, and this game takes place in the Deadfire Archipelago. And while the two Pillars games focus on the story of the Watcher, your player character who can speak with the souls of the dead, Avowed's player character will be a new protagonist with little if any connection to the Watcher. For this lore-through, I'll be carrying over our character Bjartr from the first game. Bjartr is a pale elf from the White That Wends, an area of the world known for its bitter cold. Weather so harsh that very few non-pale elves, also called Glamfelin, ever venture there. So let's get started. I haven't carried over my save yet, so let's see how this works. I have played through this game twice before, but it's been a while. And this is actually my third attempt to record this lore-through, so I kept running into technical difficulties, so hopefully this is the one that sticks. So I know that I will be able to import my save of Bjartr, but I'll also have to redesign how he looks and re-implement his stats as well. I'm going to try to give him the same stats or around the same stats as the first game and make him look similar, if not the same as the first game though. So let's get started. There is a intro that plays before the game actually starts. I'm going to choose real-time with pause. Turn-based is interesting. I don't think this game is made for it, though. It's better if combat encounters are much more thoughtfully designed than in this game, which are just kind of random groups of enemies that are walking, and I think it's better to play in real-time with pause. I'm going to choose classic difficulty once again. This is the normal difficulty, the standard difficulty. I don't want this to be about mechanics and combat tips and those kinds of things that would probably be required for a veteran or Path of the Damned playthrough. And while storytime and relaxed would be easy to go through and it would move kind of quick, I've also done that before and I get kind of bored after a while. So I want at least a little bit of difficulty in the combat, which is why I'm choosing classic. I think the appropriate amount of difficulty for me is when I don't have to put a lot of thought into every encounter. A lot of encounters I could just kind of roll through and don't really have to think too much, but then every once in a while I have to stop and think about what I'm doing, and there's kind of a difficult fight. So that's why I choose classic. Berath's Blessing, I have all 97 of them. They are optional features that I get when I get achievements, so I'm not really sure what those things are going to do, though, unfortunately. Trial of Iron and Expert Mode are for some really hardcore playthroughs, and I am not going to do any level scaling. I really don't like level scaling in any game, so it's just not for me. So let's start the game, and now you're going to hear the intro. It will kind of wrap up what happened in the first game, but then also catch you up to speed about what happened between the end of the first game and the beginning of this one. So let's get started.
Eora, a world where mortals live, die, and are reborn through the turning of the wheel. The cycle of reincarnation watched over by the gods, and made possible through pillars of a mystical substance known as Audra. 5 years ago, you traveled from your home to the Deerwood, a nation that had waged war against the incarnated god of light, Aethys, resulting in his destruction. The country suffered from a plague of hollowborn, infants born without souls, that many believed was punishment for killing a god. In an ancient, secluded ruin, you witnessed a secret ritual that inadvertently transformed you into a watcher. One who can see and speak with souls. The ritual also gave you horrible visions, waking nightmares of a past life that threatened your sanity. To put them to rest, you pursued the man who had led the ritual, a seemingly immortal agent of the gods, known as Theos Ix Arcanon. With divine assistance, you confronted and defeated Theos, ending your visions and resolving the Hollowborn crisis. In so doing, you also learned the great secret that Theos had protected. That the ancient empire of Anguith had transformed themselves into gods. Your visions finally put to rest, you retired to the castle of Cadnua, built atop a massive statue of pure Audra, where you ruled in relative peace and prosperity.
Made a nice story. You fixing up that old keep? Lifting the curse? Must have told it 100 times. But something got to gnawing at me. Thinking the spirits there weren't really at rest. That maybe the gods weren't finished with us. I used to dream that when my god came back, he would forgive us. Last the trouble with dreams. Sooner or later, we all have to wake up.
And so you wake to a sleepless world, the in-between of life and death. Follow your memories. You have been here before.
So in that little intro, the first voice was the narrator of the game, the woman's voice, who was kind of summarizing the events of the first game. And the second person who was speaking was Eder, who's a companion in both this game and the first game. And he was telling us what happened between the end of the last game and this one. So our stronghold of Cadnua was built on top of an enormous Adra statue of a man, and that statue came to life and kind of destroyed the entire keep. That was that big bald being that you saw, and killed a lot of people in the keep. And Eder says something about how when his god returned, he's talking about the god Aethus, who was thought dead after the events of St. Widewind's War, which takes place about 15 years before Pillars of Eternity 1. Aethus inhabited the body of a farmer, and he was thought to be killed. The farmer was definitely killed, and people thought that Aethus himself also died, but we see that he has been reborn in this colossal statue. And that'll bring us to Pillars of Eternity 2. So here we see at the end of that little intro there, we saw our character, the Watcher, lying on the ground, and we saw the purple essence. That is what is known as soul essence. So in Eora, souls are very real. When a person dies, their soul is introduced to what is called the wheel, and then eventually it will leave the wheel and inhabit the body of a new person. So souls are made up of this stuff called soul essence, which is this purple stuff here. This really concentrated purple stuff is our character, and these kind of wisps of soul essence are probably made from other souls or something like that. And I think that'll be enough to catch us up with what's about to happen here. So let's start moving forward.
You have seen past the shroud. You are a watcher now, and a watcher you will stay.
This is a woman who is hanging from a tree in Gilded Vale, the first town of Pillars of Eternity 1. It is also the first soul of a dead person that we spoke to as a watcher. So us as the watcher, we can speak to the souls of the recently deceased. Eventually the soul will leave for the wheel, so then we won't be able to talk to them anymore. But before that happens, we are able to speak with certain souls, and that is the first time we use that power as a watcher.
A watcher sees souls, knows their pasts, and the souls see them back.
This is Merwald. He also was a watcher, someone who we sought out to kind of learn about what it means to be a watcher. He was the previous owner of Cadnua, and because he was a watcher, what had happened to him is souls can do this thing called awakening. And this is going to be important for some of the other characters that show up on this little walk here. When a soul awakens, that means that you, as a person, are now aware of the soul's past lives. This soul can have varying degrees of power within you. Sometimes it can actually make you do things. Sometimes you just have the memories of whoever that soul was. This doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And Merwald was kind of harnessing a few different souls that were in conflict with each other. And because of that, after that had happened for so long, he kind of went insane. He attacked us and we were forced to kill him, which is why we then inherited the keep of Cadnua from Merwald.
A dubious honor, inheriting a fortress both broken and cursed.
This is the steward at Cadnua. She is a soul that inhabits this statue here. I think she has a new voice actor. She's the one that helped us repair the old keep.
What is a god? A higher power? A rewarder of good deeds and punisher of the wicked?
This is Theos Ix Arcanon, the main antagonist of the first game. We'll say more about him because he's going to show up again, as well as his enemy.
The gods aren't real, but something else entirely. Something created by people.
This is Yuvara, who was Theos' enemy thousands of years before.
And did you ever consider that these were things you were never meant to understand? That their comprehension is beyond you?
Theos again.
Let the world see. Let them decide what to do.
So this is Yuvara again. So there we saw a kind of back and forth between the two. The big reveal at the end of Pillars of Eternity 1 is that the gods, as we know them, were created. They were not gods that had always existed. By some people's definitions, their power, what they do, they could still be gods, but they were not creators. They themselves were created by an ancient race known as the Engwithans. Theos knew about this, and he was working with the goddess Boudica to keep the people of Eora ignorant about that. She didn't think, Boudica didn't think it would be good for her if people knew the truth about the gods, and Theos was kind of helping her keep that under wraps. And he was doing that for thousands of years. So his soul was a special soul that would immediately awaken in any new bodies, and it would carry with it the past memories, the past lives that it had for thousands of years. So even though his body did die, he would always be reborn, and then he would continue his work with Boudica. Yuvara was his enemy, and she found out the truth of the gods. She found out what they actually were, and she is the sister of the soul that inhabits our body, the Watcher's body, which we also were made aware of, and we saw the things that this person did who was helping Theos, but still kind of torn about it because his sister was Theos's enemy. She wanted to let the people of Eora know the truth about the gods, and Theos wanted to keep it hidden. And that was why, in the end, Theos brought about the Hollowborn crisis of Pillars of Eternity 1, and the thing that defeating him eventually stopped from happening. And that brings us to the end of this little intro portion right here.
The wheel has turned again, Watcher. Come.
An aged dwarf shares this strange floating platform with you. His face is creased by so many wrinkles that his features lie buried amid shadowy pockets of skin. Still, the dwarf's well-practiced habits have left telltale tracks of a welcoming rictus across his visage. You can see his smile coming before it blooms, reshaping the dwarf's face from a hanging sack of flesh into something resembling an oddly carved, merry gourd, replete with unhealthy bumps and discolored splotches.
Very handsome sounding man here. So I'm going to zoom out here. This green stuff is Adra, which we had heard about in the introduction. It is a very prized resource in Eora. As you see, it glows green, and it has unique capabilities of transporting and manipulating soul essence. So it is very powerful, and it's also beautiful, so people like it. And a particular variant of Adra is going to be important in the Deadfire archipelago, but we'll get to that later. So let's move forward here.
Sit. Please.
See a woman here with wispy hair and the dwarf. These tutorials, I looked last time, I couldn't figure out how to stop them from popping up, so I apologize for that. I won't read them, but they'll show up every once in a while.
Thank you for joining us, Watcher of Cadnua.
The gaunt woman seated at the table is clad in time-worn black armor that seems too massive for her to move in.
So one of the really cool features, I think, of Pillars of Eternity 2, and I think this came from their game that they made, that Obsidian made between these two games, called Tyranny, another CRPG, where you can mouse over these words that are highlighted green and learn a little bit. And this is going to be super useful for a lore through. So I'll just read this here. I kind of explained what Cadnua was already, but just as an example, Cadnua was a dear wooden castle built over the ruins of the endless paths of Odnua. Considered cursed, few ventured into its halls, and even fewer made any effort to hold the castle or the lands around it. You became the de facto lord of the castle after defeating its previous master, the Watcher called Merwald. As the Watcher of Cadnua, you ruled the stronghold until it was destroyed by Aethys. The god of light occupied the Adra body of Maros Nua beneath the castle and pulled himself out of the ground, destroying it in the process. So I will be using that liberally as we play through the game.
A pale, slender neck rises from the gorget, topped by a hollow face. The milky skin stretched across it is delicate and translucent, like parchment that has been scraped clean too many times. She's preoccupied with the arrangement of cards on the table between you. With each movement, her armor squeaks and groans as though bearing an incredible weight. She places a final card, gives a nod of satisfaction, and raises her eyes to meet yours.
Your brush with the divine has drained you of your powers, fractured your memories. Look upon these cards. They represent the courses of your life. You alone know best how they flowed. Arrange them to fit what you remember.
So this looks like we are creating our character here. Examine the cards to choose your legacy. Import PO1 save. Bjartr. Yeah, I think this is the one.
Does everything appear to be in order?
Yes.
Welcome to the Beyond. I am Berath. One half, anyway.
She points a finger in the direction of the dwarf who led you here. Though the movement is slight, her gauntlet squeaks like a rusty hinge.
So this is the god Berath, who is the god of death, cycles, doorways, mortality, and inevitability. The keeper of the cycle of life and death, Berath is thought to seek to claim the lives of those who have lived past their time. According to folklore, Berath is seen most often in the form of the Pallid Knight or the Usher, two skeletal characters who lead such people to their deaths by way of challenge or trickery. So it seems here that the woman sitting at the table is the Pallid Knight, who is one half of Berath, and the other half of Berath is this old dwarf here, I think, anyway. We sided with Berath at the end of the last game. We had options to... Let me see if I can remember these options. So because these souls were not inhabiting the souls of newborns in the Deerwood, that's what was called the Hollowborn crisis, when children were being born without souls, we had the option at the end of the game to take those souls that were supposed to go into the newborns and bring them back to the newborns. We could have, and that was what the goddess Hylia wanted us to do, we could have completely destroyed the souls, and that was what Remergond wanted us to do. And I can't remember what the god Galawain wanted us to do, unfortunately. And Berath wanted us to put those souls back into the wheel so that they could inhabit new bodies. So the children that were born hollow remained hollow, but there would any new child born would also have souls. So the Hollowborn crisis was technically over, and this is what Berath wanted us to do. We sided with her. I think you talk to her here no matter what, so it doesn't really matter who you sided with in the first game. You're going to see Berath here, but I just wanted to say that we took her side at the end of the last game. I feel like Bjartr, who would have been raised in the White That Wins, in this really cold, unforgiving place, would have been raised as a Remergond follower, who is kind of like the god of entropy. And I think of him as somebody who was eventually disillusioned by what was happening in the White That Wins, and he wanted to leave. But even so, he still kind of has a little bit about, he still kind of, since he was raised believing in Remergond, he still has a little bit about that, like, fatalism with him. So I think it made sense that he would side with Berath there. He wouldn't, like, revive children who had been born without souls, but he would at least want new children to have those souls. And that's how I thought of Berath here. That's how I thought of Bjartr here.
The dwarf's rictus returns as he nods in the woman's direction. The gods offered you boons in exchange for resolving the Hollowborn crisis. What did you do with the souls?
So this is asking us what we did, like I was just saying there, well, what I was just telling you. We returned the souls to the wheel. And you see here, that is what Berath wanted us to do, so we can change our mind if we want to, but I'm going to stick with what Bjartr chose. Return the souls to the wheel.
Tell me, do you remember when we last met?
Also, our other... Oh, I can't see our other options. Darn. Oh, well. So this little symbol here means that this is a result of choices that I made in Pillars of Eternity 1, so I'm going to say, I think so. I pledge myself to do your bidding in exchange for your aid.
And though you could have broken your pledge when you defeated Theos at Sun and Shadow, you did not. Admirable.
I've explained Theos, but he is a member of the Engwithan civilization and Grand Master of the Leaden Key, an organization devoted to keeping the secrets of the gods. Having allied with the goddess Woodica, Theos possessed the power to recall the memories of all his past lives, making him one of history's most notorious schemers. He was killed by the Watcher of Cadnua, bringing an end to the Deerwood's Hollowborn crisis.
She delicately places a card on the table. A bell in a tower. Her fingertips slowly drag away from the card, faintly creaking as they retreat across the table.
You had need of the gods once before. Now it seems we have need of you. The being that occupied Odnua's statue beneath your castle was the dead god, Eothas. Of this we are certain. What we do not know is what his intentions are.
So this seems to... what's the word? Reinforce that Eothas actually did die, since this god says that he died. So reading a little bit about Odnua, was the powerful Engwithan tyrant. He went mad after the death of his son Maros. Because he knew there were no gods, to ensure he would be properly reincarnated, he dedicated his life to carving a massive statue of his son out of living Adra with the intention of drawing Maros' soul out of the beyond by force. Odnua was defeated through the efforts of other Engwithan tyrants who buried him with his work. In later centuries, colonists built a castle over the ruins and named it Cadnua. Like the ruins themselves, Cadnua was considered cursed. So the statue that was under there and now Eothas inhabits was a statue of this man's son, Maros Nua. Then we also can read a little bit about Eothas here. God of rebirth, redemption, dawn, spring, and light. Traditionally shown as a man bearing a candle and wearing a silver crown. Believed to have possessed the body of the Raed Saren farmer Widewind during the Saints' War and had been destroyed along with Widewind at the end of the war. He recently reformed his essence in this statue of Maros Nua beneath Cadnua, in the process pulling himself from the endless paths. He destroyed the castle and left the Watcher of Cadnua at the brink of death.
Though Eothas stole a large fragment of your soul, you were strong enough to survive the onslaught and enter the in-between.
I think this in-between is new to this game. It refers to the shadow world that souls briefly wander after death on their way to the beyond. It has been described as a hazy landscape, empty but for the glow of other souls, Adra, and Watchers. This is the space that Watchers peer into when they observe and speak to lost souls and soul fragments. Even the gods cannot reach it. So I don't know how Berath is here right now, if we're in the in-between. I don't think we heard mention of the in-between in the first game. I actually wonder if this was a kind of retroactive addition here when people were asking, if souls leave dead bodies, then how are they able to talk to Watchers? So this kind of answers that. The souls, shortly after they die, enter this space called the in-between before they actually return to the wheel. And that is where we are able to talk to these souls. And that's where we are now.
You and he are still connected. He has chosen a body made of living Adra, perfused with the power of thousands of souls, including yours. It should be little difficulty for an experienced Watcher to find him.
So basically that means this enormous statue is moving because of the power of 1,000 souls, and there is at least a piece of us that is within that statue. Am I dead?
No, but neither is your body truly alive. Your lungs draw breath, your heart pumps blood, but your flesh is as soulless as a Hollowborn. That is, until I return you.
So our body is just kind of hanging out in Eora right now while our soul's waiting to come back to it.
She delicately places a card upright on the table. The art depicts souls flowing out of a pillar of Adra.
So let's see. I'm going to say I've had enough dealing with gods, all of you. Why should I care about any of this?
Did you care for the souls of the Deerwood who clung to you as they stumbled blindly through the in-between?
Here we have the Deerwood, a colonial nation founded by settlers from the Eder Empire. Following a series of conflicts with Eder, the territory became independent in 2672 AI and is now ruled by a duke, who's elected by 7 earls that oversee the earldoms. The Deerwood is where the first game took place.
You are a beacon to all of the Lost Watcher. Your soul gleams as brightly to them as Audra itself.
For a moment, there is a glint in the blackness of her eyes. A flash of wondrous recollection.
Those who have fallen in Aethys' wake are trapped inside him still. If you will not help them, who will?
So reaching out to our compassion to try and help her.
Of course, if that doesn't convince you, I can always return you to the wheel and find someone else to pursue him.
Then let's get on with it.
Good. Before you return to Eora as my herald, you must remember who you were, the last whisper of life and death.
For a moment, the sockets of her eyes darken, leaving the pits of a death's head gazing out at you.
When you can picture your own face, the Beyond will lead you back to your own kind, to the world of mortals.
Alright, so here's where we can import our character. Oh, this is just importing a character. So I'll have to start from scratch and just give Bjartr the stats that I had before. He is a male. He is an elf. Let's read these here before we choose. I did go through in a lot more detail of the races of Kith, which is what they are called. Kith is used to describe the dominant civilized races of Eora, including humans, Aumaua, dwarves, elves, orlins, and godlike. I will just read these quick descriptions of who each of these races are. The mighty Aumaua are the largest of the Kith races and are commonly found in or near oceans. They're not truly aquatic, they have an affinity for water, and many of their civilizations, such as Rauatai, are based on naval dominance. They are known for their unparalleled strength. We are going to see a lot of Aumaua in this game, and we are going to learn more about Rauatai, so I'm not going to read that right now. Next is dwarves. By virtue of land covered in number of colonies settled, dwarves are the most well-traveled race in the world. They're commonly found in the Deerwood, the Vailian Republics, and almost any colonized land. Dwarves are known for their great strength and tenacity. So here is a little bit about Deerwood, which I did already read, and the Vailian Republics are also going to be very important for this game, so we won't read about them just yet. Next is elf. Elves are the dominant race in Arglonfath and the White that wins, and are extremely common in Deerwood and Eder. Elves are known for their speed and intelligence, as well as commonly isolationist nature. We have godlike. Oh, look at this one. This, I believe, is a Skane godlike. The godlike are children of the Kith, civilized races, who have been blessed with physical aspects associated with the gods, though some do not consider it a blessing. These aspects may take many forms and often come with mystical powers. Aberrant head shapes are typical, and godlike are unable to wear protective headgear, as it is near impossible to find anything that fits. Because of their unusual nature and their ability to reproduce, or their inability to reproduce, godlike are often viewed with fear and wonder. So these are, the godlike are people that are born to a certain race, like if two humans have a child together and they are blessed or cursed by the gods, depending on your point of view, and they are infertile, they are still technically human, but they also have these extra features and sometimes powers. Often you can see different things, like this is a Skane godlike. Skane is kind of like the stereotypically evil god. I think he's kind of misused and misinterpreted sometimes, but maybe I'll get into that a little bit later. But if it was a Mogren godlike, then their head might be on fire. If it was a Hylian godlike, then they might have feathers on their head, so things like that. Then we have human. Humans, commonly called folk, are the most common race in the Deerwood, the Eder Empire, Old Valia, and the Vailian Republics. Though not as large as the towering Aumaua, humans are known for their strength and willpower. And finally, we have Orlins. Orlans are the smallest of the Kith races, though many cultures don't consider them to be civilized at all. Also notable for their large ears, two-toned skin, and hirsute bodies, Orlans are commonly found in Erglonfoth, the Ashamidal Plains, and parts of the Dyrwood. They are known for their mental intensity and sharp senses. You see here, many cultures don't consider them to be civilized at all. They are the target of a lot of racism in certain places of Eora. They are people, they can talk, they have civilizations, but some people don't treat them like they are. We are an elf, so I'm going to pick elf. We are a pale elf, so it's unclear how long ago the pale elves, the Glamfellan, came to the southern polar regions of the world, but they have lived there for at least 12,000 years based on their continuous contact with Amawa traders. They are one of the most stationary ethnic groups in the known world, migrating within the polar region but seldom venturing far north. They are rare in northern lands, and most people consider them exotic, if they have seen one at all. And we get, because we are so used to being in those harsh conditions of the white that wins, the Pale Elves' long history of living in inhospitable climates have given them an inherent resistance to burn and freeze damage. I'm going to stick with single-class characters here. Like I said, I don't want to go into too much like mechanics stuff, so I'm going to stick with single classes. Bjartr is a cipher. A recent discovery in the Eastern Reach, ciphers were once called Brishelgwyn, or Mind Hunters, by the Glanfathans. Ciphers have the ability to directly contact and manipulate another person's soul and psyche, using an ally's or enemy's essence as focus for their magic. Though most ciphers are still found in the Eastern Reach, practitioners of the techniques have spread throughout the known world. They are gaining acceptance over time, but are generally distrusted, especially by the uneducated. So we have the power to kind of manipulate minds as a cipher. And we have focus to do that. Cipher powers require and consume focus on use. Ciphers begin combat with some focus and build additional focus by dealing damage with their weapons. So that's like our magic pool there. So as we deal damage, we get focus, which we can then use to like essentially cast spells. It's not technically spells because it's not a wizard, but I mean, for the purposes of this explanation, they're basically spells that we use focus to cast, and often they target the enemies or even their allies' minds, depending on what you want to do. We didn't have these subclasses in the first one, so first we can choose no subclass. An Ascendant is a cipher that trains to use their powers when they are at full focus. This can make their powers devastating when they're finally unleashed, but leaves them underpowered in other circumstances. Whether earned or not, Ascendants have a reputation for being cocky and overconfident. So we have larger max focus, but we don't gain focus as much. And we have Beguiler. Beguilers emphasize the mind-bending powers of ciphers, relying on deception and illusion to defeat their enemies. Some Beguilers are known for their odd sense of humor, love of riddles, and fondness for Wall, god of dreams and secrets. So this one has we get a bonus to our deception cipher spells. Soulblades. Soulblades focus all of their energy on offensive powers and the use of their soul whip. Among ciphers, they are known for their aggression and short tempers, though not all soulblades have such hostile disposition. They gain Soul Annihilation, a soul-enhanced melee strike that consumes the cipher's remaining power pool and converts it into raw damage on the focus. So this is all about damaging their enemy, a soul blade. A power pool is most abilities draw from a resource unique to each character class. So this is what focus is for us. But they have Barbarian, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, and Rogue abilities draw from a pool that is full at the start of every combat. Each ability subtracts the cost from that resource until it is entirely exhausted. And then we have Scion. Scions are quite rare, often beginning as prodigal young minds that slowly unlock secrets deemed incomprehensible to even the wisest scholars. Their powers require intense meditation, but can allow them to manipulate the conscious mind or move objects with incredible force. I believe I wanted to be a Beguiler here. So we are looking to get deception spells that have increased range. And they restore focus when successfully cast on enemies that are vulnerable to sneak attack. Okay. So I'm going to be a Beguiler. I don't follow Wall, but still going to be a Beguiler. So I'm looking for deception spells here. And we see the keywords. It says Electricity and Echo for Soul Shock. I'm not going to read all these spells out loud. We have Tenuous Grasp, which is a deception spell. We can only pick one here. So I think I'm going to start with Whisper of Treason. The cipher bends the mind of an enemy to their will, charming them for the duration. This is a deception spell. Deception ability, anyway. This, I took a picture of Bjartr's stats from the first game, so I'm going to repeat as much as I can here. Alright, so might is 14. Constitution, Dex is 13. Perception is 13. Intelligence is 18. I can't get all the way up to 18 here, so maybe I'll do this. I will read these different places. Bjartr's from the White That Wins. But Eder... Eder is... Well, let me read the description before I say this. The Eder Empire was one of the most prominent old empires of the West. It's centered around the equator and has a tropical climate. The nation of Eder is at its heart and houses the majority of the human and elven populace. Eder was once a powerful colonial force, but the loss of Rhaed Saris and the Deerwood reduced its stature. Adirans are common in the Eastern Reach, but rare in the Deadfire Archipelago. So this, the Eder Empire is important to the first game because they were, at one point, like the imperial power of the Deerwood, but the Deerwood fought for their independence. This is very reminiscent of Britain and America. I'm an American, so that's how I kind of see it, where Britain once ruled over the colonies of the American, they had colonies in America when they were doing their exploring, and eventually America fought for its independence from Britain. And that is kind of what happened to Eder. Also, it's important to know that our character in the future coming Avowed will be coming from Eder. So you'll only be able to be a human or an elf in Avowed, and you have to be what they're calling an Aderan envoy to the Living Lands, which is another thing that we are going to be reading about. Deadfire Archipelago is where this game takes place. It marks the eastern edge of the known world, in quotes there. Dominantly populated by Island Maje, who make up the tribes of the Huana, the chain of hundreds of islands spans thousands of miles. The Deadfire contains myriad climates and biomes that are home to a bewildering array of creatures. The last century has brought ambitious colonial traders, explorers, and pirates to the Deadfire, but travel east of the archipelago is blocked by the destructive storms of Andra's Mortar. Legends among the Huana speak of an ancient cataclysm that devastated their people thousands of years ago. Details of this event have been lost to time. But Huana storytellers claim that it destroyed everything that they built, sinking even the greatest of their cities beneath the waves. We are going to get into some of these myths. They are in the guidebook. I'm not going to read them now, but they are in the guidebook, and we'll get to some of these. I do want to read Huana, though. Tribal civilization primarily comprised of Island Maje, which has thrived in the Deadfire Archipelago for thousands of years. Though largely decentralized, the Huana share common values steeped in mythology and a sense of guardianship over the isles they call home. So we're going to be a lot more familiar with the Huana as the game goes on, so I won't say too much about that now. We have the Ashamito Plains. Located north of Rhaed Saris in the Eastern Reach, the Ashamito Plains are a large expanse of fertile savannas that are extensively farmed by its savanna folk and Orlan residents. The Ashamito culture is one of the oldest in the world, though one of the least imperialistic, having spread out little over the past several thousand years. Ashamito society places a strong emphasis on learning and scholarship, and honors their philosophers and literati. Okay, next we have Old Valia. Once the crown jewel of the southern seas, Old Valia is now the crumbled remnants of an empire of warring merchant nations. Counting many humans and dwarves among their ranks, the Old Valian countries are still forced to be reckoned with and are proud of their rich cultural heritage. The southernmost of the old empires, Old Valia, suffered a similar fate to their northern neighbors, the Adirans, in losing their most prosperous colonial territories, the Valian republics. Many Old Valians in the Deadfire Archipelago are associated with the Principes and Patrena, a vast coalition of pirates, and that, responding to the collapse of Grand Valia, noble families packed up their households and sailed abroad, seeking opportunities away from the shadow of their homeland. Over time, their old world traditions evolved into a new identity as the Principes and Patrena, the princes without a homeland, a loosely connected and regulated organization of pirates. That is another faction that we are going to be more familiar with as the game goes on, which is why I wanted to read it there. So Valia, like Eder, was once a great power in the world, but now they have lost their colonies, so they are not as great a power as they once were. Next we have Rauatai. The powerful naval kingdom of Rauatai is dominated by coastal Amawa and ruled by Oranga Nui. Currently the most prosperous of the old empires, Rauatai has expanded aggressively into the Deadfire archipelago to secure natural resources that are scarce in their native storm-torn land. Though folk, dwarves, and Orlans can be found in Rauatai, most are merchants or remnants of the old kingdoms Rauatai conquered when they seized power centuries ago. Legends say that Rauataians came to their lands from the Deadfire archipelago in the wake of a terrible cataclysm, but the details of that have been lost to time in the imagination of storytellers. So Rauatai, the Royal Deadfire Company, I believe, is Rauataian, and that is another one of the factions that we can join in this game. Living Lands, notable because this is where Avowed is going to take place. The Living Land is the mountainous region of the large northern island renowned for its diversity of plant and animal life. Its weather is unpredictable and its ecosystems vary dramatically from valley to valley. The Living Lands are home to an assortment of races and a variety of colonial and independent settlements. Finally, we have the White That Wends, where Bjartr is from. A large, cracked southern expanse of polar ice, the White That Wends is home to pale elves and small colonies of daring explorers, outcasts, and adventurers. While virtually no plant life grows in the White, it is home to many hardy species of dangerous animals that forage from the sea or prey upon each other to survive. And that's where we're from. We are a hunter. You live for the thrill of the chase, whether for glory or for sustenance, and you have made your living taking the lives of wild creatures. You get bonuses to survival mechanics and alchemy. Bjartr, I believe. So this is where we can pick our weapon proficiency. Notably in this game, you can use any kind of weapon, and if you're not proficient in it, you don't get like penalized for it, but you do get a bonus if you are proficient in it. So it's kind of a cool way to have you try out new things. You know, you're not gonna like be bad if you're using a weapon that you are not proficient in. So instead you can just kind of hope for these bonuses, but it doesn't penalize you too much if you're going to use something you're not used to. So let's say I want to use crossbows and swords. We have rapiers, we have sabers. Sword or half sword? Oh, okay, so half sword is the name of the ability that I get. Fight in close quarter style, using your blade to penetrate armor more effectively at the cost of lower deflection. Maybe I'll do a mace. Character swings a mace with a massive force, damaging the target's armor at the cost of recovery time. Sure. This is Bjartr here. So I'm going to try and find a similar hairstyle to the first game. Facial hair is good. There we go. There we go.
Yeah. Shh. Yes, I'm flattered.
Alright, here's our character. There's a lot more skills in this game. A lot of these have to do with different conversation options, but they also, in these scripted interactions, they can help you out there, and I'm sure they can help you out in other places as well.
Go forth now, Watcher, as my herald. Know that I do not give you this title lightly. When the time comes, you will have the power to reveal the souls that cling to you, to open the gateway from the in-between to the waking world. Find Aethys. Learn his plans. When I have cause to talk to you, I will summon you.
With a quick gesture of her hand, you feel a sharp pain in what would be your chest. The pain continues, intruding deeper into your soul. Looking down, you see a small lump of darkness roiling within you. The darkness lingers there, but the pain abates and fades entirely within the span of a few seconds.
A chime. Do not fear, Herald. It will not harm you unless you choose to cross me. I trust it will not come to that.
Her gauntleted hand gestures to the dwarf, hovering nearby.
So we just got a chime from Berath. We are now Berath's herald. And I guess this is just kind of a way to keep us in line.
The dwarf nods, contorts his face with his odd smile, and gestures to a new door.
We have taken shape here. We're not just a wisp of soul energy anymore. So we had just kind of crossed into Eora here. We're still in the in-between, but this is actually where we are. We see our body here. We see Eder sitting and smoking here. And this is the steward of Cadnua. You sense the steward's spirit in the bus, but she's unaware of you. Goosebumps rise on Eder's arm at your approach, but he seems unaware of your presence.
The return to your body feels like waking after a fitful drunken sleep. The rocking of the ship sends pain jolting through your limbs. Crashing waves hammer inside your skull. Eder watches over your body with a glazed look, taking long, even tokes from his pipe. At the first movement of your chest, he starts. His gasp, mid-puff, sends him coughing and straining for breath.
No, there's no way. You're awake. What are you doing awake? How are you feeling?
Weak, but I'm sure it'll pass.
Sure. You've been out a long time.
I hate to cast a pall over your recovery, but I'm afraid I have some bad news for you.
The voice echoes from inside the bust. The remains of the steward of Cadnua.
So she used to be. It was like this bust with like a chair kind of thing, but now she is just the bust.
Cadnua has been destroyed. Aethys possessed the statue of Maros Nua and rose from the ground, consuming the souls of all nearby.
Maros Nua was the son of Odnua and a Gwithan tyrant. Not much is known of Maros, but Odnua became obsessed with restoring his son to life. He engineered a massive statue of living Audra to house Maros' soul, but his plans were stopped by the concerted efforts of other Gwithan tyrants who saw him as a threat. Maros Nua's intended Audra body remained buried beneath the castle at Cadnua until Aethys occupied it.
It is only by the exceptional strength of your soul that you survived. And even then, just barely. The further Aethys withdrew, the weaker you became. We chartered this ship and followed him to the Deadfire archipelago.
So because Aethys's new body has thousands of souls in there, including part of our soul, if we are too far away from him, then we weaken. That's interesting.
I know not how, but it seems he has retained a piece of your soul, and proximity to it has brought you back.
I know.
could you know all that? You've been faking on us.
He pokes at your shoulder with one finger.
We know it's because we spoke with Berath about it already.
Misfortunes brewing topside. Migrants fires the captain stirs.
An older man with ale-sour breath rubs his bloodshot eyes and stares at you.
Magran? Goddess of war, fire, transformation, purification, consumption, and trials. Patron goddess of the Deerwood. Thought to have blessed the Godhammer bomb that destroyed Widewind and possibly Aethys. So the Godhammer bomb is what happened at the end of St. Widewind's War, where Widewind and Aethys were destroyed. He was destroyed by this bomb here that supposedly Magran infused with part of her power. One of our companions from the first game was actually a part of the construction of that bomb.
Engrim, the smell of drink on your breath could wake the very dead. Now what's this about?
Pirates. They're demanding parley with you, Captain.
I know this is asking a lot, but you better arm yourself and get on deck. Should be some gear in there.
Whoops, he indicates at a nearby wardrobe. The word Ukaizo is scribbled and crossed out on many points of this globe. Ukaizo is going to be way more important, but all people really know about it is that you can't get there. So so I'm guessing it's crossed out because there are like guessing that it's supposedly this place, but then they find out that they were wrong, so they cross it out and look at another one.
Here's in the wardrobe. Got no time to dally.
So here's that bell. That Berath's black bell. Let's see what it says. It says this small bell of Emerald steel has no striker, yet it produces a discordant chime when swung. This boon from Berath holds within it the power over life, death, and undeath. So what happens? If I use it, I get health, friendly AoE, health restored, foe AoE, they're interrupted, and they get burn damage. I have to remember to use that. All the other stuff, we have some money. Copper Pond is the unit here, and we see that these are actual copper ponds, so they're worth 1 apiece. We have 20 of them, and these golden dukes are worth 12 copper ponds apiece. Then everything else is the mace, the crossbow, and our armor. So let's grab all that.
All right, now make some use of it.
So I'm going to equip everything. We can have main weapon and offhand weapons.
The pirates of Deadfire are notorious. I suggest you deal with them quickly.
Well, what have we here? A little sloop? Lost and alone in the storm?
Surly, brutish-looking captain stands stiff-backed before his crew. He scowls as he assesses you, his hair whipping about his ears in the wind.
I'll be taking your ship now, if you don't mind. And especially if you do.
This is Benwith, by the way.
Well, at least he asked.
He didn't ask.
I am a gentleman of fortune.
The captain shrugs in the sheeting rain before pinning you with a slow, murderous grin.
Give her up easy, and I'll see you get a swift death. It'll be bloody and agonizing, sure. But at least it'll be quick.
So we have these little things here. I think if it shows up at the end, then that means that it will add to our, like this one is diplomatic. So it will take a record of a diplomatic response, and our stat in the diplomatic will raise. If it happens before, then it is something that we have already chosen. So this one is we could only choose it, whatever it says, if we chose aristocrat. So let's see. So I'm in no mood for this. Bjartr is a little bit stoic. I'm going to make a rude hand gesture. I'm going to guess he's flicking him off. Eder smiles like he's just seen an old friend.
Always like that one. Sometimes I like to wiggle the finger like it's tickling.
Oh, I like your spirit.
He laughs long and loud over the din of the howling rain. Then he sobers instantly, his face a mask of rage.
But that won't spare you none. Listen up, mates.
He cracks his neck as he addresses his crew.
I'm off to spear me a bigger fish. One with sharper teeth like. I'm trusting you lot not to cock this up. Don't damage the sloop when you take it.
In other words, he's ordering his crew to take our ship from us and he's gonna leave.
Play with the crew if you'd like, but don't bring me any prisoners. None alive.
You heard, Berath! After him!
Defend the ship!
Let's see. The Visage of Death's Herald. Use your Watcher powers to gaze through your target's eyes deep into their soul, temporarily frightening them. Let's do that. I think that's just a Watcher ability. And then these are our Cipher skills.
Storm's picking up! Take cover!
You've defeated the pirates, but you're not out of trouble yet. The storm picks up, lashing your ship and driving you dangerously close to a rocky shore. The Defiant's crew hurries to reduce sail and batten down the hatches. They work quickly, but the ship is still listing heavily. Just then, a loose crate tumbles towards you, gathering speed on the rain-slicked deck. It misses you, but knocks Shipwrecked, one of your deckhands, off his feet. The Defiant heaves. The Defiant is our ship. The Defiant is the ship purchased with the last of Cadnua's riches. It has borne you from the eastern reach to the Deadfire archipelago. Shipwrecked pitches over the side. He grabs onto the rail, but his fingers are slipping. He cries out for help. Meanwhile, the runway crate totters at the edge of the deck, ready to plunge overboard. You recognize the symbol on the front and realize it likely contains the salvage from Cadnua, your keep. I'm going to rescue the person, not the crate. You grab Shipwrecked's arm just as his grip fails. For a tense moment, he hangs suspended over the roiling sea. Then, with a mighty tug, you pull him back onto the deck. You hear a heavy splash. The crate from Cadnua is gone. Shipwrecked, meanwhile, nods in gratitude and hurries to his station. Meanwhile, the storm has nearly driven you ashore. A flash of lightning reveals a treacherous coastline, and Aethys striding into the distance. The lookout barely has time to shout a warning before the Defiant runs aground. The impact hurls you from the deck and into the froth of waves, bodies, and splintering debris. You struggle toward the beach just ahead, even as the surf tugs you toward the open sea. You kick and paddle with all your might until at last you feel the sand between your fingers. Pulling yourself ashore, you collapse.
You've been getting a lot of sleep so far on this trip. I'd awoke you, but you look so peaceful with your face in the sand.
Eder runs his fingers through his hair and removes a strand of seaweed he finds lodged there. He examines it closely, and then tosses it onto the sand.
If you're worried about the ship, you can stop worrying. It's wrecked right over there.
He points out the Defiant, despite it being difficult to miss from your vantage point.
So far, it's just you and me and the chair lady over there.
Eder nods towards something further up the beach.
It's a relief to see you awake, my lord. I worried you were in for another long sleep.
Your steward appears to be lodged between some rocks. Despite this, her tone is warmly cheerful. Look, what happened?
Ran aground, looks like. Statue headed inland. Guess he had business here. Or he needed directions.
I do sense a few survivors close by. The rest, you could give them guidance, but they are beyond any other help.
In other words, guidance to bring them to the in-between or the wheel, because they're dead.
That is, assuming this experience has not diminished your abilities as a watcher. If you can see the souls of our dead and speak to them, it would be a great comfort.
The view's better than I would have thought. Better go see if they're all right.
Let's get going. Let's say, actually, I want to say, can we patch up the ship?
I'm afraid I won't be much assistance in that regard. And not to doubt Master Eder's capacity, but even he would need supplies.
That's true. Steak, especially.
Patching the hull is only the start. You're going to need help getting the Defiant out to sea again. And a crew, for that matter.
Let's see about the other survivors. And somehow we gotta get the ship repaired. I don't want to be paddling out of here on a salvage raft.
For now, I'd say your best bet is to find some sign of civilization. If nothing else, we may be able to hire on a shipwright. My lord, if it is not too taxing, could you explain how it came to pass that you were returned to us?
I am pretty honest. My soul passed in the beyond, and Berath gave me a choice. Find Aethys or die.
These gods. You make one deal with them to stop a madman, and the next thing you know, they're threatening your soul.
That isn't much of a choice. But castle or no castle, you are still my lord, and I will aid you to the best of my ability.
Well, I suppose we better get a move on.
Let's go. Gonna keep him as a fighter. We have our quest now. Helping Hands, I need to search for members of my crew around the beach. Stranded, we've run aground, we need to seek a means of repairing our ship. And the big quest is to hunt a god.
Indeed.
Hope the rest of those sodden bastards made it.
Seems like the soul of one of our ship crew. We have some ale here, dark and sweet. Malted ale is a shipboard staple, as it tends to keep better than water. As beer is not native to the Deadfire, it has become a valued trade item, often favored over foreign currency as a medium of exchange, especially in ship-to-ship transactions.
Of course.
Got a small shield. Give that to Bjartr. Oh, so our pets in this game, in the first game they were just cosmetic, but in this game they actually give us additional effects. We see we get +1 intellect if we have this dove or beakhead with us. So while beakhead is following you around, you receive a bonus to intellect, and your party also gains a bonus to the sleight of hand skill. This is a saber, St. Droga's skull. I feel like we must have got this in the first one, but I don't remember how. So it has a torch flame, so that it has a 20% chance to deal additional burn damage on hit. Before being canonized, St. Droga the Martyr, the Templar Droga served the priesthood of Mogren in Defiance Bay, when the temple chose to send a small group of Mogrenites to spread the word of the faith in the people of the Deadfire, encouraged by the city's duke in an effort to curb growing Balian influence in the archipelago. Droga eagerly volunteered to accompany the missionaries. The mission served in the eastern lands for years before being slain to the last. Duke Durnson Hadrit hired a group of mercenaries to bring Deerwood to justice to the raiders responsible and secure any remains. While the group successfully avenged the missionaries, this grim trophy was all they recovered in the fated group. When the priests of the shrine of Mogren saw that the paladin's flame persisted even in death, they proclaimed her a martyr. The Shrine of Mogren granted this relic to the chapel at Cadnua in recognition for your many services to the Deerwood. And it somehow survived Aethys' rise from below that very structure. Returning again to the Deadfire, St. Droga continues to cast light into the darkest shadows. So it seems like it's like a sword that also casts a kind of light. In this game, I believe, and I don't think I read anything that makes this 100% clear, but I believe enchanted items aren't due to the fact that somebody chooses to enchant an item, but rather if you use a particular weapon or item and you have certain characteristics, then it's almost like part of your soul essence goes into that item and it becomes enchanted through use rather than a deliberate method of enchanting the item. I'm going to give this to Eder, though. Oh, I guess Bjartr's the only one that can use it. Yeah, okay. Does it say that? No.
Help! Somebody! Perco Blanca!
We have a rope and grappling hook and lockpicks here. Got some water. Fire kelp. This spicy ocean meat fortifies the body and aids digestion. It is a key component in many Huana dishes, added both for color and flavor.
Indeed.
Kuiki fruit. Gives us minus 15% recovery time. Known as corpse fruit to most foreigners, this fleshy melon is a common staple among the Huana. Nutritious but stinky, it can be eaten fresh or dried. This sounds kind of like durian. Leather armor and Principe hat.
Happily.
Just got spire sponge. This wild sponge grows along the rocks of saltwater shallows. Named for its distinct tower-like shape, the spire sponge is gathered and used for everything from personal hygiene to bed stuffing. I don't really interact that much with the crafting components. I wanted to for Pillars of Eternity 1, but then I just kind of forgot about it, and I would like to try and do it again for Pillars of Eternity 2, but let's see what happens. The Defiant is looking far worse for the wear after its unexpected landfall. The hull has splintered in several places along the keel, while the tattered sails stand as evidence of your battle with the pirates. The deck of the Defiant is well out of reach from here. The ship groans like a beached whale each time the waves roll in, but it doesn't seem to be listing further. You may be able to climb up. We can either scale the hull by hand, this means that we need athletics for it, or we have that rope and grappling hook that we just picked up. So I'm going to use that. These are what is called scripted interactions, and things like this, like a hammer and chisel and grappling hook, those are useful for these scripted interactions. One good throw and the hook sails up over the rail, catching firmly. A few tugs suggest that the grappling hook should hold fast. Lost the item. Gonna climb up. The rope makes the ascent considerably easier, and you soon find yourself climbing up over the rail.
You're looking better, Casita. That, or I'm worse off than I thought.
The sheen of sweat on her brow and the wan cast to her features belies Arena's casual greeting. Casita is a Valian word that means captain.
It's my leg, Matico. It hurts even worse than it looks.
Arena's legs bear a bloody gouge along the length of her shin, and the swelling around her knee suggests a nasty break. Madico is a Valian expletive, or curse. I'm going to ask what happened.
I was a stubborn Postanaga. I was trying to fasten this mess down when we struck shore. Barrel rolled right over my leg.
Postanaga, literally the Valian term for carrot, but conversationally it means idiot. So she's calling herself an idiot.
Everything we've been through, and I'm nearly done in by a cask of rum.
Have you seen anyone else?
Funny thing, it's hard to see much from the underside of a barrel.
Good point. So I'm going to craft a splint from some debris. I'll patch you up as best I can, but you want to stay off that leg as much as possible.
I wasn't planning on going for a run, Casita.
Arena watches you work with obvious relief. Once you're through, she gives the leg a tentative stretch.
It still hurts, but I can manage from here. Agrasima
is a Valian expression of gratitude. Agrasima.
Have you found any of the others yet?
Not yet.
I'll start a fire. If any of the others are out there, hopefully they'll see it and turn up.
Alright, so we helped one of our crew. Oop.
Of course.
Oh, I didn't grab what was in there.
Looks like
We have a young boar here.
Suey. Suey.
Some kill animations, I guess.
Hey, fancy seeing you here.
The spirit's voice warps and shifts, muted as if by a great distance. Even so, he grins brightly at you.
I can't see much of anything, really, apart from you. Just endless gray. What happened?
The ship ran aground in the storm. You died.
Storm? That's strange. You'd think a man would recall a storm. It's like someone cut away a part of my memory. There's just this big black hole. It's weird. I thought death would be different. Big light and so on. But I don't see anything at all. Just you.
Berath charged me with guiding souls to the afterlife, so I suppose you're my responsibility now.
Oh. Suppose that sounds nice enough. I'll follow you then, shall I?
Come along, then. Spirit falls into step behind you, radiating cheer.
Still seeing ghosts, huh? I suppose you're stuck with that.
Watcher, over here.
This is the guy that we saved from falling over the edge.
It is good to see you well, Watcher. I believe the Boars were hoping for easy meat.
Shipwrecked greets you with a relieved nod and checks the pistol at his hip.
The bosun, Berath, is in that cave over there. Ran in after a boar. Stubborn old dwarf.
So why are you out here?
I was able to calm one of the boars with a spell. For a time, at least. By the time I was through, I had lost sight of Berath. I remained here, hoping he would return quickly. He has not.
What happened?
After we made landfall, you mean? I woke and Berath was close by, swearing fit to bring Andra's wrath upon us a second time. We began to search for supplies.
Andra is the goddess of oceans, forgotten things, loss, rest, relentlessness, and mourning. Mourning like M-O-U-R-N, like sadness. Said to have once fallen in love with the moon, and to have tried to draw it near with catastrophic consequences. People bring tokens to her temples of things they wish to forget, and her clergy sees the tokens cast to the sea. So this is referring to something that we actually saw in the White March DLC, where it says that she fell in love with the moon and tried to draw it near. She brought a moon close to Eora, and the god Abaddon shattered it, trying to stop it, but he was killed in the process. Eventually he came back to life, basically because of what we did in the White March. But that is why people say that she was once in love with the moon.
I came over this way in hopes of gathering some of that blood moss over there. I thought it might be of use. I imagine the Boars had the same idea.
I'll look for Berath.
I will make for the campfire. I must get this pistol cleaned if it's going to be of any use. Be careful in there, Captain.
Indeed.
You got some blood moss. This moss grows in sprawling clumps, and its dull crimson hue earned its name. It is a common sight in more humid regions where locals say that the moss resembles wounds at the base of trees where it's found. You got some pork. It's from the boar that we killed. Oh, do this.
You sure?
Isn't there supposed to be a light?
I guess we can't bring back all the souls. This is the cave where Berath is. I'm going to explore the rest of the island first before we go in there. Some more blood moss.
Spy! Magran, here! My flame burns yet! Is that ye?
Eld Engram appears to be in sound condition, though his wax jacket is soaked through. He appraises you with bleary-eyed amusement.
You woke just in time for the fun. Fighting off motherless raiders one moment, flung into the freezing depths of Andra's bosom the next.
Engram's eye twitches as he flashes a smile notable for its extraordinary absence of teeth.
Aye. Magran learns us poor bastards that a little excitement's good for the heart.
The last Malgranite to travel with me almost went mad because of his goddess's trials.
Aye. But almost mad ain't fully mad. Ah, old Durance. The goddess shan't forge another like him in our lives, Captain.
Durance was a companion from the first one. He was a Malgranite priest.
There's nae getting the ship back underway without repairs. Yonder road inland seems the best chance of that. You want to be kicking some of the corpses afore you go, see if some cry out. We need a crew if we're to set sail. I'll see you at the campfire, Captain. Magren's flame warms my soul, but these ailed bones need a touch of the real thing.
See you there.
Good, good. I'll keep an eye out for others, Watcher, if you'll do the same.
So here's the campfire with the people that we have found.
We'll have a spy at that leg of yours.
And here we have some spark crackers. A bundle of small fireworks of myriad colors and compositions. When thrown, they combust with great spectacle and noise. While they don't cause any damage, they could be used to distract patrolling enemies.
Should have seen me with that barrel, Angrim. I showed it was boss.
Magren gives some of us simpler trials than others.
Seems like with Eld Ingram, they're trying to give him a little Durance energy.
There must be other survivors out there.
Good news, Captain. I found some supplies must have washed ashore. Even better. I've located some spirits. The mundane kind, I mean. Nothing that requires your talents, Watcher.
Have you seen any other survivors?
One up north, near the cave. Could have been that stuffy goat Beodul. I cried out, but the storm was too loud.
What do you think we should do now?
Quit standing here, for one. Worth having a spy about this place. It may be there's more of us who've survived Magren's trial. There is a cave to the north. Could be some of our fellows sought shelter there. If all you find is cold corpses, we can say a prayer for their departed souls and liberate them of their mortal possessions.
Do you know anything about this island?
Kith live here. I ken that much. Means we're a sight better off than we could be. Of course, it's surely pirate territory. They have a number of bolt holes out this way. I'd nae be surprised if that cave up north is one of them. Could be they lie in wait for us even as we speak.
Very well. So he keeps... Well, let's talk to him first.
They warned me strange things would come following you, Watcher.
Elda Engram keeps bringing up the trials of Magren. Magren's followers, she often puts them through trials to prove their loyalty, so that's kind of like a famous Magrenite thing. The last playthrough, I spent quite a while forgetting that I needed to go into sneak mode to see traps, and was getting kind of annoyed until I realized it was totally my fault. Let's not do that this time. We got some hardtack, a mainstay of nautical cuisine. This is a meal of necessity. Bread simply will not keep for weeks at sea. Sailors have long since adopted the unappetizing substitute, best served with a glass of salt water to soften it. You also got a torch and a lockpick. Got some poxcap. Despite their humble appearance, the small brown mushrooms are prized for their taste. Their caps are round and distinctively shaped, with small circular depressions dotting the surface. Got a cave beetle here. In this game, it does actually show you how prepared you are to deal with enemies, and quests will have a level. So that sword that's hanging out above this cave beetle here with the skull, I think that means that it's one level above me. And then it will also show 2 or 3 skulls for 2 and 3 levels above. And if it's a red sword with 3 skulls, that means it's 4 or more. That means it's probably going to kill us.
That's embarrassing. I'm here. Of course.
We got a chitin leg, or chitin leg. This bristled leg twitches sporadically, as if it does not yet know it's been severed from its source. And we got larvae, a clutch of writhing larvae. Blind and hungry, they move instinctively towards any source of food. So these are ingredient? Yeah, they're both ingredients.
Quietly now. At once.
Wait.
Here's a skeleton.
Look there.
Stand together!
Skeletons aren't too tough. Got a pistol, shield.
Happily.
Does Dare have a shield equipped? He does, yeah.
Keep it down.
I got a waterlogged note, lockpicks, and golden souls. So let's read this note. Still no sign of Benwith. How much longer are we gonna wait? The wet's already ruined half our take. And get your stinking construct under control. You've been hanging out by that crystal. I swear it's been giving me the eye. So these were Benwith's people. The pirate that attacked us in the sea.
Just a moment. Hope that helps. Indeed.
So that was locked, and we were able to pick the lock. What did I want to do here? Why did I open this? I don't remember. Oh. I wanted to give myself those potions in the quick slot. Okay. Got some cave coral. This peculiar red fungus is typically found in damp caves. It's hollow, cage-like formations resemble sea coral, from which it takes its name.
Happily.
Small forms dart swiftly between the coral below. We got the Scroll of Sunbeam. It looks like we need a 1 Arcana to actually cast the spell, and then we got some lockpicks. This is the construct that the note mentioned.
Wait, look there.
Look there.
So these are traps here.
Damned pirates! Andra, take your scabrous souls for fish food.
Bayadol! Still alive and calling everybody scabrous, I see. Well, now we got a bosun. Just need a boat.
Eder! And I see that corpse we've been carting around is looking a slight more sprightly. Good to see the two of you, but mind your step. I've got myself in a spot of trouble.
This corpse that they've been dragging around is me.
Been trying to find a way past without losing a leg or getting a face full of poison.
So we have some options here. I can take care of a few traps.
Well, they sting something fierce, so mind yourself.
Indeed. Of course.
Ah, bless you, Lord. Would have been a sorry way to go. Caught up in a dead pirate's trap. It's just bats and stinking corpses in this cave. You find anyone else?
We've got a campfire going on the beach.
Then I'll head that way myself. See you on the beach, Captain.
There we go. I was hoping to level up before we fought that construct. So like the first game, when we level up, I will do that off camera, and then I will explain my choices at the end. So with Eder, I upped his athletics and his survival skills, and I gave him, I forget the skill that I gave him. I gave him the Disciplined Barrage. Fighter intensely focuses their training, gaining the Aware inspiration for a short time. And Aware is +5 perception, which converts 50% of grazes to hits. Grazes means that you hit the enemy but do barely any damage. And a hit is a regular hit, so it'll convert some of those when I use this. Now Bjartr. For Bjartr, I gave him Eye Strike, shocks the target's visual receptors, blinding them and nearby enemies, and I also upped his Alchemy and my Metaphysics. All right.
Happily. How about that?
So these are Andra Tara, translated as Andra's Tooth. These are large, Baroque teardrop-shaped pearls, most commonly found and traded by Almawa. So is that? No, that's an ingredient. And then we got a breastplate. While I'm here too, I have fought a few enemies. So let's take a look at the bestiary. We fought a cave beetle. Beetles are not quite folk-sized, but they still strike sufficiently intimidating form to frighten off most travelers. The largely uninhabited swaths of the Deadfire archipelago gave beetles plenty of room to multiply. The most successful species of large beetle have evolved to not only camouflage themselves in the surrounding environment, but also to grow carapaces made out of common and hardy materials such as wood, stone, and Audra. Despite all appearances to the contrary, there is an underlying complexity to the common beetle. When they choose a material with which they develop their shell, they do so with a level of intention that borders on artistry. Wood beetles will often bore intricate holes in their carapaces. By blowing through these makeshift pipes, they play an eerie music to attract mates. Stone beetles fashion rudimentary tusks and horns that help to defend themselves and attack prey. The intricacies of Audra beetles are as of yet not well understood, save that they are notoriously difficult to kill. I don't know, it just said cave beetle the first time around. But interestingly, first of all, they're huge. And second, depending on what they make their shell out of, they have different strategies on how to deal with the environment around them. We fought a boar. Wild boars are considered a nuisance and a danger in the areas where most colonists settle. Aggressive and fearless, boars have killed many human and elven children as well as fully grown orlans. Packs of boars can be a threat to any traveler or explorer. They are notoriously difficult to put down, but their tusks are valued by traders and enchanters. Wild boars are deemed pests by most communities, as wherever they are introduced, they are likely to outcompete the local fauna. Their uncanny adaptability has made them difficult to eradicate. And then finally, we have vessels. Does it tell us what vessels are? No, it doesn't. Vessels are basically undead here. Skeletons are creatures who no longer require flesh or essence, but whose drive to kill has been instilled over many stages of progressive decay. As a result, they'll attack anything that approaches them, but they won't attempt to consume it after it's slain. The essence that animates them is energy at its most basic level, as the skeleton has lost all measure of will, intelligence, or personality. If not killed, a skeleton may eventually grind itself into bone dust, or its essence may finally evaporate into the ether. Skeletal savants are remains of warriors, wizards, and other adventurous types. They are similar in overall properties to other skeletons, but they are more capable in combat and often retain rudimentary skills from their adventuring lives. So skeletons are the last shape that vessels in this world take. As the undead or vessels move through their lives, they become more and more decayed and more run solely by instinct. And while previous forms have to ingest soul energy in order to stay alive, eventually they will become skeletons who still kill because that's what they're used to, but they don't actually need that soul energy anymore. Eventually they'll become bone dust, but for now they just kind of instinctually kill. Some of them even carry the instincts of their previous lives, like warriors, wizards. So we'll see skeleton like wizards and stuff like that. And I think that's all we fought so far. So this is new here. I do want to read this. Empower. You can now empower your abilities or yourself. Once per fight, you can use Empower on an active ability to make it much stronger. Alternately, you can use Empower on yourself to replenish a portion of your ability resources. In other words, if you're like a wizard and you have a certain number of spell casts, then if you use it on yourself, you can gain some of those spell casts back. To empower an ability, click this. Blah, blah, blah. You can only use it once per fight in a limited number of time between rests. Resting at an inn or using food or drink while resting at other locations will restore all the characters and power points. Okay. Have to remember to try and use that sometimes.
Of course. Now the sound.
So let's see. I gotta go up here and I gotta go over here. Some sea bats here.
Look there. Stand together.
Come on.
Alright, let's check out these sea bats. Significantly larger than their more diminutive brethren, the Deadfire's giant bats have traded in docile herbivorous diet for a strictly carnivorous one. They are aggressive and clever, making them a scourge of local populations. While they rarely attack towns and villages, they won't hesitate to descend upon a lone traveler outside of settled areas. In recent years, there have been scattered reports by colonial settlers of giant bats unlatching windows and, in one bizarre incident, an armory door. Giant bats are, as their name implies, quite large. Though their wingspans are remarkable, nearly 6 feet from thumb to thumb, the weight of their long, muscular bodies curtails their ability to fly between islands. Consequently, giant bats are highly specialized to their home island environments, resulting in a truly remarkable variety of bat types. The way giant bats hunt is somewhat unusual. They do not echolocate, but instead crash into their intended prey, hoping to knock the prey to the ground where it can be more easily subdued. Compounding their threat, giant bats are also a natural disease reservoir capable of transmitting several fatal illnesses like jungle rot and the pox through their saliva. Due to their long association with giant bats, the Huana are largely immune to this manner of disease transmission. Colonists, unfortunately, are not. We got a leathery wing, a clawed, spindly wing spanned by translucent membranes. After removal, it has curled itself and stiffened. And a fang, a predator's fang.
Indeed. I'd be glad to.
We got Huana Maje. Huana Maje, or the dangerous family, is a type of highly toxic clustering mushrooms usually found in warm, moist areas. They have a tendency to burst into clouds of deadly spores if handled incorrectly. The waters here glow an eerie blue, and the cave glistens with reflected light. You can just make out an opening in the cavern wall to the northwest, where the water flows onward. The tunnel seems to extend a short distance before turning sharply, but you can't see where it leads. I'm going to send someone to scout ahead for air pockets. And Eder has better athletics, so I'm going to choose him. Success! Eder sets out at a good pace, cutting through the water with confident strokes. Nearly to the far side of the tunnel, Eder finds a space to come up for air. With a place to rest along the way, the swim should be more manageable. All I needed was 1 athletics there. Swim through. Watcher only check, but because I found the air pocket, hopefully I'm okay. Air pockets provide a much needed reprieve. As you make your way through the cramped waterway, you make short work of the journey. You come up into what appears to be another smaller cavern where sunlight streams in from an opening in the stone. We got Incarp, Often found in dark, damp places, these tiny mushrooms ooze a thin, blue-black liquid when squeezed. They are commonly gathered and rendered into dyes or writing ink.
Told him not to bring that thing in there. Didn't like the look of it one bit. But no one daren't speak poor of his precious animancy tech.
Animancy, the science of soul manipulation, a field both controversial and relatively new, banned in some nations like Eder, but permitted in other countries like the Dyrwood and the Vailian Republics. Animancy is very important in this world, so we'll be getting into more detail about that later. The ghostly figure paces the length of the small outcropping with quick, deliberate steps, muttering to herself all the while. Her long cape flaps with a wind that blows from the in-between.
Special gift from his contact, he says. Now it's acting all weird. Gives me the damn creeps. You feel it too, right? Like it's looking straight through you?
She turns piercing purple eyes on you. She shakes her head and resumes her pacing.
Came out here to get away. Couldn't stand it staring at me anymore. Then... Oh, my memory's fuzzy. Anyway, you want to Benwith's? Haven't seen you for, but he's been bringing all sort of new folks on lately. Can't hardly keep track.
So this must be a dead pirate of Benwith's. When did she mention animancy tech? Told him not to bring that thing in here. Didn't like the look of it one bit. But no one daren't speak of his poor precious animancy tech. So I'm going to ask her about that.
Oh yeah, one of the crew got it off those Vailian bungholes. The ones what with the fancy ships and jaunty caps. We swipe things from them all the time.
So some kind of Vailian animancy experiment tech. I don't know how to tell you this, Spirit, but you're dead.
Spirit? Wait a tick, is that why everything's all grey? Hell, that explains some things. And here I thought maybe I just bonked my head.
Hell is a colloquial term for the beyond in Eder, the Dyrwood, and Raid Saris.
Look, maybe we should stick together. Feels right, you know? Well, with you being the only other thing around and all. I can give you a hand with, spirity stuff.
I am a benevolent person, so I'm going to say stay with me. I'll find a way to return you to the wheel.
I tell you, mate, I'd take anything over this endless grey. Even Remergon's frosty arse crack.
Remergond is the god of entropy, cold, winter, bad luck, famine, and natural disasters, manifests as a giant albino aurochs, moving amidst a great blizzard, and in the plodding footsteps of Remergond come death and disintegration. The spirit tries to give a friendly pat on the shoulder, but her hand passes right through you. Unperturbed, she grins and walks along behind you. So we got another soul with us?
Of course.
Foul, briny stench rises from the sodden crates, their contents rotten. We got a stun bomb. A simple device designed to create a sudden burst of light and sound when detonated, stunning and frightening targets in the area. It's going to swim back. And I think this is the last area we have to go. Yep, here's the construct, and here is a revenant. Let's see if these guys can be blinded. Yep. I can't do it with my Watcher ability. I got the Revenant fighting for us now.
What's a metal killing machine doing out here by himself in a cave anyway? Collecting his thoughts?
Alright, so we got binding copper. These tight coils of gleaming copper are typically found in conjunction with Adra, where they affect peculiar changes. Copper and Adra work together with soul essence. Pyrite. Pyrite's lustrous appearance has given it the moniker Gilded Folly, kind of like Fool's Gold. Though it shares none of the gold's malleability or value. It sparks when struck against steel, however, making it invaluable as an ignition source. And then we got a bone. Have I read this yet? Once one of the bones to which a soul desperately clung, now it holds only traces of the life it held. We got a cape. And flint and tinder. And arak. A sweet syrupy liquor made from palm sap, sugarcane, or fruit. There's no agreed upon definition of arak, and the distilling process varies greatly from region to region, as does the flavor. Is this alcohol? Yes, liquor.
Absolutely.
Why can't I grab this? There we go. A dozen paintings, mildewed and worthless, line the wall against the broken bottles and rotting wood.
That R looks... Well, that's gonna be hard to clean.
Got a ring of minor protection. Rings can feature plain bands or jewels and settings. Magical rings may bestow a variety of special properties or defenses on the wearer. Their small size allows for their enchantments to complement similar enchantments from other items and spells, and this versatility has made them popular among adventurers. This one gives us +5 fortitude, reflex, and will. And then some lockpicks and gold. I'm going to equip that ring for Bjartr. Fan of Flames. It's a spell. And I think that does it for this cave here. Yep. Okay. Let's head back out. Let's see what our quests say. Oh, I wanted to read the bestiary for those things we just fought. I think I found everybody. Okay. So let's take a look. We just fought more vessels. So first, I said before that skeletons are the late stage of a vessel. Revenant is right before that too. So Revenants are undead that have devolved beyond even the relative intelligence of a ghoul. Revenants retain their instinctive hunger, but they don't have the will or intelligence to reliably satisfy it. They're drawn to any environment where dead or dying bodies can be found. So as you can see, they're skeletal, but they still have some flesh hanging off of them here. They still do need to ingest soul essence, but they don't really know where to find it, so they just kill everything. And that is the second to last stage for an undead or vessel. And then we have constructs, the rusted copper construct. Constructs were developed by animancers to serve a variety of intents and purposes, chief among them to be bodyguards and instruments of war. Due to recent advancements in construct creation, most animancers have divested themselves of their earlier models by auctioning them off to new owners who are rarely schooled in the maintenance of their complicated inner workings. If not serviced regularly, constructs are prone to rusting. So this is basically a suit of armor that has been inhabited with a soul as a very rudimentary means of protection. So it's just kind of like fighting off instinct, I think, anyway. Let's see. So Beidle's here now.
What a mess. We'll be needing help getting the Defiant off the ground.
Do you know anything about this place?
We got turned around in that storm. Hard to be sure just where we are.
What do we do now?
Not much chance of us moving the ship on our own, but we're in charted waters. There's bound to be a town nearby.
So that's my next bet. So interestingly, Eld Ingram and Beedle, I think you can find them no matter what, which is why they have dialogue trees to interact with. But Irena and Chitupek could die. You could choose not to save Irena, and you could choose to get the crate instead of Chitupek, so they just kind of have a
Theodore said you
something
had
to
to
say.
out of trouble. Diverus? Was he crying? You can tell me.
Oh, quiet.
I suppose we are
We're
lucky to
under
have
a
found
damn
land.
barrel.
Irena's in good order. I spied the leg.
Is there still someone that we can find? Oh, let's talk to the steward. Maybe that's who.
How dreadful it is to see the Defiant brought so low.
There's nothing for miles.
I think I got everybody. The quest is not updating.
What a mess.
Any luck, Captain? Not a one. We've come away from this one limping, Captain, but we live to see the next battle through.
Okay, so I think that means we found everybody. Alright, so this is all the DLC. So I do want to look at this. Clicking the world map will have your party navigate to the selected location. To toggle on off the camera automatically following a party, click to follow camera map in the bottom right. So the map in the first game was a static map that you could just click on things and go there. In this map, you actually see your character portrait traveling along the route, and you will see night and day cycles as well. There are places that you can actually go into, or places that just have some kind of resources, like this one here. So I got 18 hardtack by exploring that area there. And then sometimes they will lead to scripted interactions. In the distance, you see a simple wagon. The angle at which it rests on the road, one side judging above the other, suggests that it has been damaged or disabled. Even from your vantage, you can make out Kith milling around it. I'm going to see if I can sneak closer and observe. Complete success. As you near the cart, you make out a group of red Saren pilgrims in rough-spun linens and cottons. A single draft horse stamps to the ground patiently, as two of the pilgrims argue over the front right wheel, which seems hopelessly stuck in the mud. These guys seem pretty honest. I'm going to approach openly. One of the pilgrims notices you. Her step back draws the attention of the others, and a man in a well-worn gambeson steps forward. The weight of deep concern hangs on his face. Did the dreams bring you here as well? The other pilgrims look to you with a mix of apprehension and hope. I'm following Aethys. The older pilgrim's mouth opens in amazement. You hear a gasp from another. They look to each other, excitement in their eyes. Praise him, the old man cries out. We are not alone. We had the dreams too. We saw the 3 stars sailing through the sky, piercing the black of a storm cloud. Figured it must be him, Aethys, calling to us. So we came here, to the place we saw in our dreams. The pilgrims look around, matching their sleeping memory to the present. We saw the giant pass with 3 stars on his brow, but... He sighs and gestures to the wagon stuck in the mud. Sad to say, we could not follow him. So they also are following Aethys. Raid Sarens, that's where Widewind came from, the man who Aethys inhabited his body and who led the Saints' War. So there is still a lot of Aethys worship in Raid Saris, but in the Deerwood, it was actually outlawed after the Saints' War. Wheel stuck as stuck gets. None of us are strong enough to lift the corner up to get something under it. More than one of us tries and we can just get in each other's way. The other pilgrims nod and stretch, suddenly remembering their aching bodies. Let me take a look. A brief inspection reveals that the wagon is undamaged, but the wheel is stuck fast in the mud. You have some wood, the old man says as he gestures to the back of the cabin. If we can get the wheel up, we can slide that beneath it. Inside the wagon, you see several planks of wood. A small box of valuables sits in the side. One of the younger Dawnstars looks at you, eyes wide. Nothing about Dawnstars. We will learn about them, but there's nothing here yet. Reckon you can lift it? I can attempt to steal the strong box if I want to. Attempt to lift the corner of the wagon. And that is strength. Eder's strength is 16, so I'm going to choose him. Or might, I mean. Eder. Oh, so before I read that, let's read the reputation. When you press the character button in the lower center of the screen or use the C key to bring up the character sheet, select the reputation tab to view your character's earned faction and community reputations. Factions will display how much positive reputation you have with the blue bar and how much negative reputation with a red bar. This is kind of a cool mechanic in this game. However, I watched a talk that Josh Sawyer did. He is, I believe he was the creative director of this game. I'll have to look that up to be totally sure. But he was talking about the reputation system. It's kind of cool, but he said the way they implemented it here was just way too complicated. So we will take a look at that in the future. Eder squares himself against the wagon's corner, squats deep, and wrests the wheel up from the mud with a grunt. A young Dawnstar stands in shock for a moment, reacting just in time to thrust a thick board beneath the wheel. It takes the better part of an hour to lay down a safe path for the wagon to roll free of the mud. The laboring Dawnstars glisten with sweat but laugh happily as they sing songs in praise of Aethys. Here we go. Here's the Children of the Dawnstars. We got minor positive reputation with them. Not to be confused with supernatural manifestations of Aethys, the Children of the Dawnstars are Raid Saren followers of Aethys who have traveled to the Deadfire Archipelago as migrant workers in the decades following the Saints' War. Lacking colonies of their own, Dawnstars can often be found in the employ of the Valiant Trading Company or Royal Deadfire Company. So these are Aethys worshippers who left Raid Saren to come to the Deadfire Archipelago after the Saints' War. And these ones saw Aethys walking, so they wanted to catch up with him. Alright. Smiling, their leader presses a small pouch of coins into your hands. We appreciate the help. Without you, who knows how long we would have been stranded out here. They begin to prepare their wagons as you take your leave. I gain some money. The old man calls out to you as you go. Take care of yourself and your soul, traveler. Whether you come for Aethys or not, we know in our hearts that he has come for us. Okay, so there's some woods we can go into here, which it looks like... Yeah, it says the location is above your level and be hard to complete at this time. So let's just... Wakura Pass, and we have some... I wonder if this is Aethys' footsteps here. A solitary rice farm. It looks bountiful enough to welcome trade. Okay, so there's just a farm here that we can trade with them if we want to. It's just telling us about inns. We can retrain our character. We can go to the store here, and other inns will have other things that we could do. We got a 50% discount on things here, so maybe this is good. So rice wine is homemade wine from fermented rice. This thick, sweet beverage is often referred to as farmer's drink, as it is ubiquitous with the royal rice fields of the Deadfire. Tarloaf, a simple flat bread made from rice, often serves as both plate and utensil for other dishes, but is quite satisfying by itself. It kind of seems like naan from Indian cuisine. Let's see how much. 354 for all this. Do I actually need to buy all this right now? Why not? Why not? It's 50% off, so... So it looks like this will lead to some fights if we go to Wakura Pass. I think that's what the swords mean here. This is a city. I know that we can go in there, so let's explore a little bit further first. I see ships, and you'll see that time passes only when we're moving. So if you see that ship in the up here, you'll see it start to move when we move. And then when we stop, it's not moving anymore because time is not passing. Burial site. Huana tribes traditionally heap their dead into pyres and give their bodies to the deep sea, but mounds like these suggest that rangas of honor, wealth, and distinction were buried nearby. And we can go through the burial site if we want to, which we are going to. You come upon an ancient site once used for sky burials. On a large stone slab is a scattering of old kith bones and a collection of urns of various sizes. Search the location. You take some time to search the burial site. Find nothing. Keep searching. Nothing. This time we got some currency, Azada Nui shells. Azada Nui shells come from snails, up to 3 times the size of common Azada. Relatively rare, the Azada Nui commands a higher price in trade, so this is a way to trade here. Their currency, basically. We got a saber, and that's it. So you see that time passes while you're searching. Sometimes you get things, sometimes you don't, and then it disappears when you're done searching it. Alright, let's head into Port Maje. Port Maje Harbor, Deep Spring, Fon Prima, 2828.
Better see what that crowd's about.
What if the giant comes this way?
Please, everyone stay calm.
So the giant would be Aethys, so the Deadfire knows that he's here. I don't know if they know that it's Aethys, but they obviously are scared. The man at the center of attention appears to be fielding inquiries from both the gaggle of townsfolk gathered around the platform and a rather severe-looking Amao woman standing just beside him.
Please, everyone remain calm. I assure you I will do everything in my power to get you the answers you need. Our friends among the Huana.
So based on his voice, his name, Governor Clario, he seems Valian. Valian kind of have a Italian feel to them. And then the Huana are, I read about them, but they are a tribal civilization made up mostly of Almawa, so I think that's this woman here.
Have offered you hospitality and safety from the storms.
The Almawa woman folds her arms.
Yes, yes. I think we are all keenly aware of the debt of gratitude we owe to the...
I have personally seen to the safety of your homes. Now you will do the same for our families.
So it seems like she sheltered Valians for him, and now she's asking for a return favor.
What about our families?
What about the ships? How are we supposed to feed ourselves?
If everyone would...
As Clario's gaze sweeps across the crowd, it falls upon you, where it remains. A few more heads turns to see what has caught the governor's attention.
It's one of the pirates.
At this alarmed cry, the whole of the crowd turns to regard you. A startled, expectant hush falls upon the gathered throng. So they're worried about the statue, and they are worried about pirates. This fire means passionate. This one means shady. My ship ran aground, just south of here. I need help.
2 of my guards reported a ship flying deer wooden colors, fallen prey to a private vessel. That would be your ship, I assume.
That would make him lucky. Your own vessels do not usually fare so well.
The woman regards you with bland curiosity.
Quite.
The woman, by the way, is Storm Speaker Ikawa. I just need some repairs and I'll be on my way.
Percomplanca, everyone, forgive me. I believe this matter requires my attention. You have my word that I will keep you apprised of any changes.
Percomplanca means a Valian term, meaning literally for mercy or for little mercy, which is taken as, come on now.
Especially you, Mestre Ikawa.
Do not flatter me with Valian titles. You are distracted with your newcomer and wish me gone. But I will not go far, Governor Clario.
Grade. As for you, stranger, let us speak at my estate. We'll discuss your predicament.
So this guy seems like he wants to get something out of us, and he sees an opportunity. Gelare means a valiant expression of approval that roughly translates to brave or defiant. So these are just commoners. Mataru warrior. We will be getting into what Mataru means at some point.
Accept the light, and you shall be redeemed.
This is a woman named Wenglith. A woman shouts, arms raised high and wide. In each hand, she grips a golden candle. The flames gutter wildly as she gestures to the crowd before her. The missionary holds a candle to drip wax in the shape of 3 stars on the forehead of each kneeling worshipper. One of them stumbles back, swiping the hot wax from his skin.
Sefutito, Madikyo, I did not sign up to be burned.
Sefutito means this, and Madiko is another expletive or curse. What do you think you're doing? Oh wait, let me see what the options are. Yeah, I'm gonna say, what do you think you're doing?
Idling, that's what. Making ourselves feel all requited.
This is Xoti. Arms crossed over her chest, the shorter, darker-skinned woman watches the ritual with an ornery sort of expression, her delicate chin jutted up.
We just missed one of the biggest reapings of all time. What about the souls that need us?
The reaping. As she steps forward, she reaches for a peculiar-looking lantern strapped to her hip.
Do not push me on this, you wayward child. You'd leave the living forlorn to service the dead?
Rather than discouraging the other Dawnstar, the accusation seems to kindle a stubbornness inside her. Shoulders set, she grins.
Here, I'll light them all at once.
Metal clinking, she sways an eerily lit lantern in an intricate pattern before her. The priestess bites her lip, swinging harder and faster, lithe arms hurling the weapon with a deceptively hidden strength until she thrusts it hard out toward the crowd, splattering everyone with wax. What souls you on about?
The ones I dreamed died.
Her words falter as she gets a good look at you for the first time.
I'm guessing you're not here for the baptism.
You dreamed people died?
Sure did. I get those kind of dreams sometimes. The ones that turn out true. Nightmares, more like. Terrors that come true.
She rubs a palm over the back of her neck.
Had 'em since I was a little girl on the farm. Guess Gone was speaking to me even then.
So Gone is an aspect of Aethys associated with death and harvest. His implements are symbolically important. The sickle reaps what is sowed in life, and the lantern guides the deceased down their intended paths of death and rebirth. It is generally believed that Gone, instead of Berath's avatars, visits those who embrace death with acceptance and understanding. His most fervent devotees are known as harvesters of Gone. So where Berath kind of chases after people who have lived too long and tries to get them to return to the wheel, Gone is the one that kind of shepherds them when they are ready to die. Gone is an aspect of Aethys, though, so it's not a new god, it's just a different version of a god. Gone is an answerer of wrongs and imbalances. This has contributed in no small part to Dyrwood's enthusiasm for vigilante justice. Popular regard for Gone is polarizing. He's appreciated, feared, and characterized by a grim sense of finality.
Some of our brethren suffer from these visions more than others, while some of us, favorably, have none at all.
It ain't a curse. It's a blessing. A mark of the divine.
Xoti shrugs. What happened here?
It's madness, right? Who'd have thought a giant green statue might storm through the port?
At the memory, her pupils gobble up the warm brown of her eyes, and the remaining darkness gleams wickedly.
I did. I dreamed it for months, again and again, and night and day, until I pushed the others to come here.
I wonder if she's somehow related to the other raid Sarens that we ran into, the Children of the Dawnstars.
We told the governor, but he wouldn't evacuate on account of me, not knowing exactly when our god might arrive.
No one believed it. But how could we know?
The woman wrings her hands before wiping trembling, wax-smeared fingers down the sides of her robe. So Aethys has been through here. Probably stepped on some things. I'm looking for an Audra statue, yay high, inhabited by Aethys.
I knew it!
She clenches her grip in the sickle in her right hand.
Gone's been calling me here. Left the breadcrumbs in my dreams. I need to get inland. If you're going, I could help you. Swear on my soul.
Why do you want to go inland?
There are souls needing their last rites. ought to shine them the light, else they might get lost.
Enough nonsense, Xoti. No one knows if anyone's even died. You've no business going in there, risking your own safety, risking our mission.
Wenglith, you guide the living and I guide the dead. Gone bids it and I dreamed it. Leave it be. We all serve our purposes. So what's yours?
Watcher.
So you can see souls? That's a handy talent to have. I know my harvesting would benefit from it. And here you are, following my god. Watcher, will you take me with you?
So I can be rational. I can be passionate. Why not? Perhaps it'll prove useful in dealing with Aethys.
I know an offer rare as hen's teeth when I hear it. Yeah, I'm taking it.
She beams brightly.
You won't regret this.
She steals a shy glance at Eder.
Hey.
Eder half nods without looking in Xoti's direction. He seems suddenly focused on something in the distance. A tad too eagerly, she saunters close beside you.
At least take care, child. Come back to us in one piece. If not for my sake, then Samhain's.
The old priestess sighs, shaking her head.
So don't tell her. What the High Priestess doesn't know won't hurt her.
Grinning, Xoti waves her brethren, curt parting. So we got a new companion. This is just saying that if you see a word bubble, like we see on Eder here, that means they have something they want to say to us. I am going to have her be a priest. And I'm going to level up Xoti, so I'll pause the recording for that and let you know the choices I made. So I gave her the Interdiction spell, condemns the priest's foes, dazing any enemies in the area of effect. I moved up her Arcana and Religion. Let's see what Eder has to say.
The children of the Dawn Stars. I wondered if we'd run into them down here. There's someone I used to know, just an old friend. Came out here to settle with them last I heard. Maybe we should ask around, see if she's still out here. Might be she can help us.
Just a friend, huh?
Xoti rubs the back of her neck, clearly uncomfortable. Xoti's got a little crush. How do you know her?
Oh, well, both grew up in Gilded Vale, same temple.
Eder looks askance at you. So let's see. This is insight, perception, or diplomacy. You can trust me, you know.
All right. We used to, you know. She was real loud, too. Used to have to cover her mouth or she'd get the dog howling in the next room.
Xoti's face models bright red and she turns away, hands covering her eyes. You could have stopped a few sentences ago.
I knew you'd understand. You're gonna like her. I got a good feeling.
So we got a new quest to find someone who might know Eder's friend.
You watch over her, you hear? That's one of ours whose fate you've taken into your hands.
I will.
For God's sake, I don't need nannying, Wanglith. I've reaped more with my 2 hands than you'll dream in a lifetime.
And you've pride in that?
Head shaking, she turns to you.
Do you see why she needs guarding? You must shield her light. Do not let her lose it or her life.
So we got moderate positive reputation with the children of the Dawn Stars.
Do you seek a blessing from the light?
We're looking for someone who came out this way years back.
If it's a fellow missionary you seek, then you might talk with Nordegand at the temple in Neketaka. She's been around a while. Knows more of us than most anyone else.
Neketaka? The great and ancient city of Neketaka is so old that its foundations are said to predate the Great Huana Cataclysm of legend. In recent years, the native Huana population have been crowded by the arrival of Valian and Rawatine colonists, traders, and soldiers. Neketaka is the big city in this game.
May Aethys' light shine upon you.
Same thing.
Happily.
The wagon holds a few boxes and scattered garments. see, so this is Rinko's house. This is the governor's estate. We have Port Maje jail, Port Maje trading post, a market, and the Kraken's Eye, which is an inn, I believe.
You have to do something. Any of us could be next.
Oh? I cannot imagine who might wish to harm you, Mestre. Per complanca. Don't tell me you're here to complain, too.
This is Captain Darmo. The guardsman covers his face with his hand, groaning.
The virus. Are they recruiting right off of the docks? You would think the Juana were storming the Kraken's Eye as we speak.
What's going on?
A fight, Mestre. One of the Juana women attacked a merchant. He has come out the worse for it.
So it seems like the Valiant are here to trade, and one of the Juana attacked one of the traders. He jerks a thumb toward the nearby door.
Now every nationale in town wets himself in terror of losing his coin to the Aumaua. We would bring in the thief, but Clario would not have us march into the village and defend Ikawa.
Nacionale is a Valiant term for a nosy person.
Much longer, and I do not think any of us will have a choice in the matter. If you wanted the details of it, speak to Rinko himself. He will delight in telling you the tale.
Darmo makes a sharp, frustrated hand gesture and turns away. So let's see. Yeah, here we go. This difficulty is 4 levels or higher. So the Lantern of Gone, that is Xoti's quest, and the Lighted Path is Eder's quest. So let's head into Rinko's home. Some hardtack. Got Mariner's Porridge. High in nutrition, low in flavor. A remedy for both hunger and hangovers. Meals in this game, they give you for a certain amount of time these certain buffs. I'm not sure exactly how long they last. I don't know. Then we have some salt ingredient. Perhaps the Deadfire's most lucrative export, salt, is harvested from the sea and shipped to distant inland regions where it can be worth its weight in gold. It is vital to preserving meats and adding flavor to dishes. Water.
Indeed.
Got a Valiant hat and a Valiant commonwear. Surprise.
Mama brings me stuff from her work sometimes. Real old stuff.
Kind of surprised that these aren't stealing here. Okay, so here's a book. I have already gone through, obviously, Pillars of Eternity 1 and read all the books that I could find. I think I got all of them, although I don't know for sure. I will be reading books again that I read in the first Lorethrough. I'll only be reading them once, so I'll be marking things down as I go through it so I can remember which books I read and which I haven't. So this is Aethasian Prayer. And the sun shall break through the darkness, the new dawn arriving with the rebirth of the day. Rejoice, all ye who dwelleth in the shadow, who are broken and beaten. The winter soon comes to an end. Spring shall rise, bringing light to life, bringing light and life to the world. Radiant life, and thy soul shall find warmth in his arms. All creatures bask in his glory. The rays of the countenance bathe in the world, bringing an end to the night, ushering in the day. Kneel before him and wonder in his benevolence. Feel the warmth of his radiant presence. If thou art broken, he shall make thee whole. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee to the light. If thou art sinful, thou shalt be reborn. If thou art cold, his warmth shall bolster thee. How canst I, so lowly and worn, speak words of proper adulation? Thine eyes, whose gaze sees the sin in me, yet still shows love. Thine hands, whose grip pulls me out of the darkness. Thine ears, listening to my every prayer. Thine heart, bright as the dawn, giving me warmth when I am raw. Aethys, light of spring, sun of the world, thou givest me life and purpose. If thine heart be black, if thine intention be impure, thy life is forfeit. For he hath seen, he can see, he will see. Nothing is hidden from his glory. His light touches every corner of the world. Nothing is hidden from his sight. If thou doest thy work in the dark, If thou wouldst keep thine actions hidden, thou shalt be burned in the sun of the new dawn. Day comes soon. Prepare for the dawn. Nothing is hidden from his reach. This is a prayer to Aethys. Here we have the Ethic Null and Animancy in the modern age. Sure. You can continue. I think Animancy especially. Ethic Null is just a little bit of world building, so maybe I'll read that later, but Animancy I do want to read right now. Animancy is a science both respected and reviled, sometimes by the same person. For all the research done on the topic, we still know so little. Control over life itself. Something animancers have been working toward for hundreds of years. There are no real records of how the practice of animancy was first discovered, but once the spark of knowledge ignited, there was no stopping its inevitable discoveries. In 2260 AI, animancers, as a result of their extensive research, successfully contained and transferred a soul. The subject of the experiment, whose name is unknown, was young and wealthy, but infirm. The idea was to move his soul from the dying body and into that of a recently deceased man who had suffered an accident. The new body, bearing only slight decay, would house the soul, giving the man a much better life. The outcome of this experiment resulted in the condemnation and outlaw of animancy in the Ederan Empire. So, kind of like a scientific version of necromancy here. They were trying to take a soul from a infirm man and put it into a body of someone who was dead, but it wasn't nearly as injured, so hopefully he would have a better life. So kind of like necromancy, which is why people were against it. Some people were horrified, but some people saw it as opportunity. Again, while we have no true records of what happened, as they were all destroyed after animancy was outlawed, a journal was discovered, a makeshift confession by one of the participants. Excerpts from that journal follow. 2260 AI, Von Prima 16. Von Prima is the name of a month. We'll get into like months, but I think this means like late spring. It is done, and the gods forgive us for our arrogance. I am not sure what I was expecting. Certainly not that. But what did any of us expect? Still, behind the revulsion, there's a sense of pride, something I can't deny. All the research, the studying, everything we worked for. We thought we'd change the world. How it's changed. All was in place. The twisted form lying on the table next to its new vessel. The equipment had been prepared, the tinctures and potions all carefully crafted, every detail painstakingly organized to ensure success. We most assuredly succeeded. The procedure went exactly as it should. The soul, extracted from the old body, held, bound in place to prevent it from moving on. Then the next step, transfer to the fresh vessel. It was beautiful and terrifying. I listened as they spoke the words of binding. I watched the soul move. Not the soul itself, of course, but the vapor we used to detect it, as it lowered in the vessel. A gentle luminescence covered my body, and then nothing. Silence. Darkness. I held my breath, afraid that even the slightest disturbance would destroy all our hard work. Then motion. Then, dear gods, then blood. How did I survive? I do not know. The vessel rose from the slab and the room breathed. Every person crowded around the tables exhaled. Some cheered. We had made life from death. We had become eternal. The body closed its eyes and tilted its head, looking for all purposes to be listening for something, or to it. Then its eyes popped open and it moved. Its lips peeled back from its teeth in a horrible expression of fury. It fell on the nearest man, tearing his throat, knocking him to the ground. Then the room erupted in screams, shouts, and a flurry of bodies running, pushing, doing everything in their power to get away from the creature sitting on their colleague. But right before that happened, in the split second before the chaos, when there was nothing in the air but a stunned, terrified silence, I heard it. Sitting there on his chest, face at his neck. And it was feasting. So this experiment turned out horribly wrong. The first time trying to move a soul from one body to another. And I'm just going to hold on to the Ethic Null book right now, so that we can read it later. Diaboausa. Ranging from clear to slightly cloudy white, this liquor is distilled from a mixture of two different rices, one short grain, the other long, and water from the mountain spring in the island of Osa. The strongest liquor native to the Deadfire, Daibo, is generally served warm and particularly popular in an artisan caste. I wonder if that's kind of like sake. Oh wait, did I not take that? I didn't take that. This chart appears to outline some kind of mining operation. Numbers in the nearby ledger seem to allude to volume. Though precisely what isn't clear. Yeah.
Who's there?
Someone lying in bed. This is Rinko, the guy who was attacked.
Tori, is that you? Wait, who are you?
The figure in bed is a young Valian man. The first thing you notice is that he seems to have been severely beaten. One eye is nearly swollen shut, and where his skin is revealed, it is a patchwork of livid bruises. He groans and winces as he props himself up, glaring at you with one good eye.
You look like you already got a foot in the grave.
She thumbs the cage of her lantern thoughtfully.
Come to laugh? Madiko, this would not have stood in Ozia.
He yanks on the bedsheet, trying to cover himself. This is history. Clever. So we can know something about Ozia. And it says in Ozia there'd be a crowd in here to taunt you. So it seems like that would be something maybe that, like, Ozians would, like, not be very empathetic towards someone who was in his position. But I don't really know much about Ozia beyond that. What happened to you?
These Juana, they are an unreasonable people. I was enjoying a night of cards when one of them attacked me, out of nowhere. I had not spoken a word to her, the mad devil. Look what she did to me, my ear.
He turns his head, and you see there is a scabbed over notch where a chunk of flesh has been torn away from his left ear.
When the fighting is over, she takes my coin purse and strides away, bold as anything.
That's awful.
Well, clearly you have more compassion than the host of cackling fools that watched the whole thing. The governor lets the Juana do as they please, and this is the result. I should be out there, helping to find our people. My wife, Zenetta, she is out there, and I...
He gestures feebly with an arm, grimacing.
Listen, I am without other means. She took my coin purse, my wages. How am I to pay the governor? How am I to feed my son?
His already bruise-purpled face reddens further.
That woman should be in the stocks. The guards do nothing. But you've heard me out at least. Do me the kindness of retrieving that coin purse, and I will give you what I can spare.
So it seems like there is kind of an uneasy peace between the Valians and the Juana here. And the governor is unlikely to do anything because he doesn't want to disturb that peace at all. I'm not going to say I'm ready to trust this guy. He makes it sound like he's completely innocent and this woman bit his ear off, but I'm sure there is something he's leaving out. Maybe I can reason with this woman. Where should I start?
They call her Mokeha. I imagine she is back in her village, feeling proud of herself, no doubt. Follow the road as it bends north, then west. You can't miss it. A pile of sticks and straw.
With that, he sags back against the mattress, clearly exhausted. Alright, so we have a new task to find Mokeha, who has his coin purse. Also, I was reminded of this. I saw her shaking her lantern, Xoti. So I wanted to take a look at this lantern that she has. This is Shoti's sickle. The sickle was originally forged as a cheap farming implement, but in Shoti's hands it's a potent weapon. The aspect of Aethys known as Gon is often depicted carrying a sickle with which he reaps what is sown in life, carrying out the cycle of death and rebirth. In service of Gon, Xoti carries a similar tool, emulating the holy act of reaping. This sickle, while outwardly ordinary, has inherited power from Shoti's strong faith. So it's got a Soul Reaper, plus 5% sickle damage until combat and on scoring a kill. And then there's a extra deflection against melee weapon. But what I wanted to look at especially was her lantern. This lantern contains a mantle of Audra at its core. In her service to Gon, Xoti has worked tirelessly to collect souls within the mantle so they can be safeguarded until Aethys returns to Hell once more to oversee the process of death and rebirth. The lantern is well constructed and quite durable. Xoti wields it in the manner of a small shield, and it offers reasonable protection. So she uses it as a shield, but it also carries souls in it. And I want to be clear here, Hell, it's a colloquial term for the beyond. It doesn't mean, when it says until Aethys returns to Hell, it doesn't mean that he's Satan or anything like that. That just means he's returning to wherever people go after they die. And there is Audra in it, in her lantern. And this is where she carries her souls. So this little symbol here means that I would be stealing. And in this game, they are highlighted red if I would be stealing them. Scoria. I'm not going to take it, but a common volcanic rock often found along the seashore. Scoria ranges in color from dark brown to nearly purple, though when viewed en masse, it appeared black or charcoal. Deadfire denizens make gravel from this abundant porous stone for the purposes of water drainage and road building. Okay, nothing there. So the last thing I want to do is take a look at the reputations. So here's the reputation UI. The Watcher's reputations and dispositions are displayed on the reputation wheel. A companion's reputation wheel displays the reputations with other party members and any biases they might have. So here is me. My disposition is aggressive. That's weird. Don't remember ever being aggressive. Oh, so it just shows. Okay, so benevolent. And I think as I do actions here, then it will fill out either blue or red. But right now I don't really lean one way or the other. My relationship with Eder is at 0, and same thing with Xoti. And then up here, this is my reputation with the Children of the Dawnstars. And here we see that I have a good reputation with the Children of the Dawnstars since it's filled out blue. Looks a little bit different. These are characters that they made, so they already have their own dispositions. So she's pro-Aethasian, she's lighthearted, she's impassioned, she's worldly, she's doesn't like skullduggery. So she has a dim view of people who employ underhanded and deceptive tactics to get their way. She does not like irresponsibility, and she does not like anti-religious people. For Eder, he does not like people who are pro-lead and key. He does not like anti-Aethasians, and I think... No, she's pro-Aethasians. And he does not like people who are cruel to animals. He does like anti-lead and key people, kindness to animals, pro-Aethasians. He's lighthearted, and he is traditional. So I'm not going to go through that with everybody, but I just kind of wanted you to be aware of those reputation mechanics. And I think that's going to do it for this first session. This time, I am going to try to be posting them more like as I play. So by the time I post this, it will only have been a week, and that will give me an opportunity to hopefully reply to comments as they come in, and maybe even reply to some comments in the videos themselves. And this time the videos are going to be longer. Last time I tried to keep them under an hour. This time they will be longer, but they will only come out once a week as opposed to twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays. This time I'm going to stick to Saturdays only. So, with all that said, thank you so much for joining me on this first session of Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. We returned our soul to our old body. We crash landed our ship on this island that we are on now, and we are currently looking for a way to fix our ship. So, hope you will join me in session 2. Thanks again for joining me now. Let me know if you have any comments, questions, or clarifications, and I will see you in session 2. Bye, everybody.